Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. And as mentioned earlier, today we'll be taking a look at about some of the gains and achievements of Egyptian women since the June 30th revolution. And to shed more light on this issue, we're delighted to be joined over the telephone by our guest for this morning, Dr. Reem Bedeir, the Associate Professor at Graceland University, USA. Dr. Reem, good morning to you, ma'am.
Good morning to you, ma'am, and good morning, Egypt.
Thank you very much, Doctor, for your time this morning. Now, of course, women have come a very long way since the 30th of June revolution. Could you highlight some of the main areas where you see women empowerment and women excelling since the revolution?
Indeed. First, I would like to extend my heartfelt congrats to the great people of Egypt on the anniversary of the glorious June 13th revolution, and an inspiring moment of unity, resilience, and national wealth that continues to shape the country's promising future, of course, under the leadership of President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi.
Yes.
About women in Egypt benefit from June 13th revolution, we can say that the June 13th revolution was just not a political milestone. It was a social awakening. Egyptian women stood shoulder to shoulder with men in the streets, in the Egyptian squares all over Egypt, demanding change, and their voices were not only heard, but they were honored. Since then, the Egyptian government has made a women's empowerment a national priority. Like, for example, today, women hold 28% of the parliament seats, up from just 2% in 2012.
Yes.
They led 25% of ministerial portfolio, including key ministries like planning and international cooperation. For the first time, women have been appointed as a judge in the state council, public prosecutor, breaking centuries-old barriers.
And Dr. Reem, if you permit me to echo what you have just said regarding the economic empowerment of women, I think that this was one of the first priorities in front of the president. And even as I said in my intro, that President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi was always keen to name the Egyptian women as the great Egyptian women, or Azimat Masr. If you want to elaborate on that too.
Of course, the Egyptian state, under the direct guidance of President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi, as you said, has launched a series of transformative initiatives regarding women empowerment, like the National Strategy for the Empowerment of Egyptian Women, 2030, endorsed by President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi himself, which is considered as the first of its kind in the region, aligned with the United Nations SDGs. The Women Health Initiative also has screened over 28 million women for the breast cancer and chronic diseases all over Egypt. Also, we have to highlight through the Takaful and Karama program, around 78% of the 14.3 million of the beneficiaries of the Takaful and Karama program are women. Many of them who are female, heads of the household, and Mashru'i microfinance program has empowered thousands of rural women to start their own businesses. These initiatives, economic initiatives, reflect a government that doesn't just speak of equality, it delivers it.
Absolutely, Doctor. Let me also ask you, aside from the economic empowerment that you've just elaborated, tell us a bit about some of the legislative reforms which have empowered women and have protected women's rights as well as children's rights in Egypt after the June 30th revolution.
Of course, in 2014, Constitution championed by the current leadership was a turning point for gender equality in Egypt.
Yes.
We all observed it mandated that 25 of the local council seats be reserved for women, translating to over 13,500 seats in Egyptian parliament. In Parliament, women representation soared up to 27% in 2020 Parliament, the highest in Egypt's history. These reforms were not accidental. They were intentional, reflecting the government's commitment to reflect women's rights. President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi has often emphasized that true democracy must reflect the diversity of its people and the inclusion of women at every level, as you said, Azimat Masr.
Indeed.
And to continue with awareness, because the word awareness is very important, or it's a key word. How do you see considering spreading awareness regarding the Egyptian women's rights as also one of the priorities, and particularly to reach the new generations to know well that they do have rights and they are capable of doing even miracles for the best interest of our society, and to build a generation capable of building new Egypt or implementing on the ground Egypt 2030 vision?
Of course. Actually, the efforts are unprecedented and holistic. Egypt was the first country globally to launch the National Women Strategy, which aligns with the United Nations SDGs. Also, under the presidentship of President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi, over 165 gender-sensitive policies were enacted during COVID-19 pandemic. Even on these sensitive times, the Egyptian Women councils were established to track the progress and ensure the accountability of these laws and legal enforcement. These are not isolated efforts. They are a part of a comprehensive Egyptian state vision that places women at the center of the national development. A lot of legal reforms enacted by the Egyptian state are both bold and necessary, like the sexual assault survivors' identities were now protected by law. Also expanded maternity leave and social security for informal workers were introduced. Anti-human trafficking and personal data protection laws were passed and activated by the Egyptian parliament to protect women's rights and women's wellness.
Absolutely, Dr. Reem. Now, of course, the revolution helped women get more involved in different causes in Egypt. And as you mentioned, political empowerment, economic empowerment, now social empowerment with regards to the role that Egyptian women now play in their communities and in Egyptian society as a whole. Tell me a bit about how you see women taking more of a leadership role, taking more of a role where they can influence policies, they can influence decisions being taken in Egypt.
Of course. A lot of decisions taken by the Egyptian leadership to appoint women to leadership roles is one of the most visionary moves by the Egyptian state, of course, under the leadership of President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi. These vocal, which we consider him actually a vocal advocate for a woman in power, is taking no nation can raise with the full participation of its women.
Yes.
Today, women serve as a deputy governor, like 31% of the government all over Egypt, they are women. Ambassadors all over the world representing Egypt by 25%. Vice ministers by 27%. Actually, these appointments are not symbolic. They are strategic. Women bringing innovation, resilience, and inclusion to the Egyptian government. This is a clear message from the state leadership. No gender differentiation. So we work significantly on the gender equality, as we saw up to 31% of the Egyptian representation in the deputy government all over Egypt.
Indeed.
Dr. Reem, also the president is always keen to mention the Egyptian women's ability to absorb the hardships or to deal with the hardships. Our life is not a rosy one. There are hardships, there are challenges, and to face them with this sense of loyalty and sense of belonging to the country and raising the new generation, knowing well that they have no choice but to exert the utmost efforts for the best interest of Egypt. This is something which is embedded inside the Egyptian women for thousands of years. How do you see the keenness of the head of the state to mention that, I think, in every occasion and in all his speech directed to the nation?
Of course, the Egyptian women, including you and me, have been frontline defenders against extremism through education, media, education with the high education through universities like my role, and also media like your role, Mom, and community leadership. They promote tolerance and national identity. President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi always has acknowledged that women scented the threat of extremism before anyone else, and their mobilization during the June 17th revolution was a turning point. The state continues to support women's role in observing the radical ideologies and questioning Egypt's cultural fabric. Also, we have to highlight that there is some initiatives, gender-based violence, especially in rural areas, economic equality, and more representation of the women in the STEAM field. Also, we work in a good or significant increase in cultural resistance in some communities. All these can help on the long run of the women's welfare and representation or empowerment in the Egyptian society.
Absolutely. On that note, I'd like to thank you very, very much, our dear guest, Dr. Reem Bedeir, Associate Professor at Graceland University, USA. Thank you so much, ma'am, for your time this morning and for joining us on our special coverage.
Yes, Angie, and to continue with our special coverage, we are going now to go to this very detailed, comprehensive report regarding the efforts exerted by the state to promote and to boost our agricultural sector.